never let you forget this image as you think about the state's obligation. Because I want to talk to you about what their actual evidence was. And we heard, and I will tell you at the outset, probably should have started with this. You all not making a determination in regards to forget this image as you think about testimony. Evidence. So let's talk about what evidence actually applies. You are Whitaker and worthy of your consideration. And I would suggest you are basically kind of 4 categories of what we heard that had any application in regards to Leroy Whitaker. We have DNA records, we have cell phone records, we have Abdul Robinson Sr., AKA Blue, and we have Dominique Barner. Let's kind of start with some of the most straightforward evidence. And I will say it's straightforward. The DNA evidence. Now you've got to consider what that tells you, what that helps you to determine. And we have 2 different kinds of DNA evidence. DNA evidence that's found in the car, and we have DNA evidence that's allegedly found in the property. Now, the DNA analyst, you will remember, was very...
Nah, but when it do be numb good, I just be over exaggerating, bro. I hate, bro, I got like 4 teeth. I got like 2 root canals. They got, and like, bro, I'm too scared to go, bro. I hate that shit, bro. Like, man, I don't know. I ain't even nothing else to say of it. I just hate that shit. I don't like that shit. Alright, what's up, y'all? I know I've been gone for a couple days, but in fact, we missed day 6. I know a lot of other people probably put day 6, but I didn't. So we here, ready on cover day 6 and what happened. Day 5, it was more like just wrapping it up. A couple other police officers, their defense. I don't know if they had a witness or not. I don't even know. I know it's stuff going on right now, but don't even worry about what's going on right now. We're gonna catch up to that. But right here, we're gonna do the full closing argument. State deliver joint argument in Ksoo and ATK Scotty trial. So they did a joint. So their closing was for both of them type shit. So it's an hour. We're gonna skim through it. After this one, we got the we got Ksoo attorney do their one and Scotty do his one.
And then they try to extrapolate that. Okay, the rest of the world must be like that too.
And I got the French toast on the way, so don't even trip. You know what I'm saying? We can't smoke in the room today, so we cooling. But I done did like 4 or 5 blunts in the backyard up to this time, so I'm nice and geeked up. You know what I'm saying? I'm cooling though. Nice and geeked. I'm gonna have to smoke either. I'm gonna have to, when I do smoke, if I want to smoke, I'm gonna have to leave the computer and go around the back or hit the garage. But I'm cooling, man. But we'll be back smoking tomorrow though. Let's get into the joint though.
A group of individuals,
Day 6.
a family, co-defendants, Leroy Whitaker, Hakeem Robinson, their good friend Dominique Barner, and a few others,
Can't find my remote.
fulfilled their collective, premeditated design, their plan to execute Charles McCormick. What was the reason? It was personal. Brother.
Stop scrolling. Were you locked up at San Bernardino Juvenile Halls? High Desert, Gilbert?
Probably the right headphone. Okay, it's the right headphone. Y'all probably heard that, but I ain't hear shit. never cut these off, bro.
Family, co-defendants, Leroy Whitaker, Hakeem Robinson.
Just relax, man. Just sit back and relax. I owe y'all one today, so we gonna be on. It really don't matter how long this take. Just know I owe y'all one today. We on this motherfucker.
Your good friend Dominic Varner, and a few others, fulfilled
Oh yeah, don't even try to relax. Your shit ready to get. They ready to drill your shit up. Fuck you trying to relax for?
their collective, premeditated design, their plan to execute Charles McCormick. What was the reason?
Even after, like when that numbing medicines calm down, you gonna be too mad. Like, oh, you gonna be like, where the Erkies at?
It was personal. There was no justification for it. Charles McCormick did not deserve to die. He made a song. That song was disrespectful. But it's not just that it was a song. It's what the song...
Mind you, just to put it in perspective, they doing a joint closing. So this closing argument is for both people instead of them doing one at a time. It's like together. Y'all know what a joint mean, but just trying to put that out there.
Referenced. Specifically, who it referenced. Willie Addison. Because Willie Addison wasn't just another person. You heard from Hakeem Robinson's sister.
Shit, I be smoking through my nose, nigga. Fuck to my...
Who Willie Addison was. He was blood. Brothers. And Leroy Whitaker is Hakeem Robinson's cousin. Their blood. And Willie Addison's blood was spilled on January 15, 2019, along with Abdul Robinson Jr., Hakeem Robinson's brother, Oregon Williams, Abdul Robinson Sr., who you know as Blue, and a couple other people in the vehicle. Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker were not in the vehicle, and you know that from way back in the opening statement. I wasn't hidden from you. They didn't have to be, because again, it was their family that was in that vehicle.
I want to see what they said to make Scotty get hit. Nigga, they said Scotty verdict came back in 10 minutes. They still doing Ksoo shit right now. But they said Scotty shit came back in 10 minutes.
It was their family that was killed, and it was...
Ace gonna write on his page talking about something, y'all ready to come home? No, nigga, they not.
Their family that was severely injured. It was his brother, Hakeem Robinson's brother, that was shot in the head. And in the hospital for months. Had to learn how to walk again. And then Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker listened to Smoking on Willie.
Free all the guys doing double digits, man. I got some little niggas doing double digits, man. It's always the YNs, dog. I got a couple YNs doing double digits. It's cool. They don't come home. Niggas like 9 years in, 7 years in, 7 years into a 33. They gonna see daylight again. Good thing about it, they get locked up at a young age and they get to come home like in their 50s and their 40s. So get another chance at life is the best part. Well, these niggas probably get life.
And it's not just the lyric of Smoking on Willie, it's who's singing it. Because it's Charles McCormick, who's part of Six Law.
Fuck you trying to numb your whole body for?
Keep in mind, ATK, Hakeem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker, they don't like Six Block.
Nah, this is a recorded YouTube video. Let me stop tripping, bro. You niggas in this be talking about some numbing cream and shit. What you trying to numb and shit? I'm wildin', like. Let me tighten up. Let me get right.
They're rivals. They hate one another. And then you have a rival,
Niggas
someone
say,
you
what you
hate
trying to numb?
already, smoking on your brother. And that lyric bears its way into their minds, into their memories, into their blood. They're not going to let it go. They're not going to let something from Six Block go regardless, let alone something so personal as family, brothers, blood.
Yeah, the crazy part about it, Ksoo and his stepbrother was locked in. I know they ain't gonna. It ain't. I know. They some street guys, so they ain't going to court talking about something. They gonna play the perception as if they won't. You know what I'm saying? So I get it, but they was locked in though.
Can't let that go. Some exhibits. States 40. States 227. On the left, on Hakeem Robinson's Instagram account. Rest in peace, big brother. You know I stood on all 10 about you. Don't speak on Willie. That's exactly what Charles McCormick did. He spoke on Willie. He said, "You're smoking." And then, next to it, on Abdul Robinson Jr.'s account,
Ooh, trigger finger itching. Ang 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 ang. Gotta be with that shit.
February 17th of 2020, 2 days after the murder of Charles McCormick, which took place coincidentally exactly on the 1-year anniversary of Willie Addison's death. 365 days in a year, and he dies on January 15th,
How they end up
2020.
getting him, huh?
The bullseye on the calendar, and he was the target.
Damn, they killed him a year later after the brother-in-law shit. What the fuck?
And they took him out. Stage 229.
My shit is persistent. My shit too clean.
Most important part of it. And I guarantee you,
Oh, Ksoo saying we smoking on Willie. Ugh.
those who knew Willie, who loved Willie, who considered him blood, they heard that every day. Here's another photograph, States 229. Willie Addison, boss school. Surrounded by Hakeem Robinson, Abdul Robinson Jr., and there's Torgon in the middle. Family. You heard from Hakeem Robinson's own sister. They all heard about it, they all knew about it, and they, Hakeem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker, were upset. They were really upset. And you know who else told you that? Father, Abdul Robinson Sr. And if you can set aside your personal feelings and emotions regarding that individual for a moment, and just think about that one statement that he told you. We were aware of that song, we were upset by it, Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker were upset by it. Abdul Robinson Jr. was upset by that. You can detest Abdul Robinson Sr. He can still be telling you the truth. And how do you know that that statement from him is truthful? Because Hakeem Robinson's sister from that witness stand earlier today told you the exact same thing. Just as she corroborated him that Hakeem Robinson was living with him. They were all living at the same house on Brown Jersey Court. January 6, 2020, this is States 30. Recognize those faces? Cousins? January 6, 2020. In a criminal case, you have heard, and the judge will go over the law with you at the conclusion of this, it is the state's burden. We have to prove the charges. We have to prove them beyond a reasonable doubt. The key term there is reasonable doubt. It's not beyond all doubt, not beyond a shadow of a doubt, a forced doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt. You would have to have a doubt that is reasonable. But if you have an abiding conviction of guilt,
It look weird when my door opened on it.
the case is proven. And I'm going to suggest to you that it has been proven, and it's not even close. We're going to go through the evidence here, but just very, very quickly. I'm not spending much time on this. Count 1, first-degree murder. Both Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker have been charged with that, as you know. I don't believe there's going to be any debate as it did throughout the trial, that what happened to Charles McCormick on January 15, 2020 was first-degree murder. It's captured on video. Person gets out, runs him down, and guns him down. It's not justified. There's no defense. It's clearly premeditated. So there is no doubt, no debate that this crime was committed. The one and only question is, who is responsible? And if you remember back in opening, brings us back to the two questions. For January 15, 2020, where were they and what did they do? That's what the state has to answer for you through the evidence. And the state has answered that with a mountain of evidence in this case. One additional instruction I want to talk about briefly before I get into the evidence is the instruction on principles, which I anticipate you will see from the judge. And that is because more than one individual was involved in this crime. One person pulled the trigger, but not just one person is guilty. Because this wasn't a crime committed by one person. There were, as you all know based on the evidence, 3 individuals in that Nissan Altima. 3 individuals. And they all, to a man, wanted this to happen.
Ignite the fairways.
With Fireball.
Jiminy Cricket, you don't even have a club in your hand.
When you go to commit a crime like first-degree murder, you don't bring along staff. You bring along co-defendants, family, those who want the same thing that you want. And so the law of principles is, even if you didn't pull the trigger in this case, you are still guilty if you intended that crime to occur and did something, said something that encouraged the other individuals to commit that crime. You intended the crime to happen, and then you did something or said something that encouraged or assisted the other individuals to complete that crime. And then you are to be held accountable just as if you were the one who physically pulled the trigger. So let's talk for a moment about the evidence. There were witnesses in this case, because this did take place at a shopping plaza on a Wednesday just before 11 a.m. But it's a very large shopping plaza. And you can rely on your own memories as you deliberate and talk about the evidence and the witnesses and their testimony, and look through the exhibits, including the video. And I encourage you to look and look closely. Almost every single one of the witnesses in this case were very far away. They were at the other end of the shopping plaza, away from express employment. There were 2 witnesses who were very close to what happened. Lashida Saunders, who owned and was working at Express Employment, who knew Charles McCormick, who her company was helping him get a job, said goodbye, and you recall what she told you she said to Charles McCormick as he began to walk out the door. You remember? Have a good day out there. And she stood at the door, and she watched through the glass as the person she knew, who had just gotten a new job, walked towards the parking lot where neither one of them knew Hakeem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker, and Dominique Warner were waiting in that stolen Nissan Altima, a car they had no right to be in, but they wanted a car that couldn't be connected back to them. And so they waited. And that is where States 187 comes in. Miss Saunders.
Fuck, bruh. They got me, bro. They got me, YouTube. You got me. But good thing that song passed on copyright. It passed. This song don't fuck it up, so we cool. I wanted a clean one, man. Shit.
You can look at States 187, still see the front door of Express Employment. And you can kind of see through the glass where that desk area is where she said she was standing, just as Charles McCormick began to walk outside. And she told you she was there And she saw from the corner of her eye that shooter, that gray and black Nike hoodie, come running towards the parking lot, from the parking lot towards Charles. And Charles ran back initially for the front door of Express Employment. And then, as you see in the video, he turns. What did she tell you? He's coming towards the door. He locked eyes. I see him, he sees me. So he turns. He had a choice. He could have run inside that public office, putting everybody in there, putting the Saunders at risk. But he didn't. He ran around the corner and never made it very far. When did Saunders tell you? I saw them. Wait, identify anybody. Can't identify Hakeem Robinson because his face was covered. 79 degrees outside, but he's wearing a hoodie and it's pulled up and his face is covered. And she gives a description. She says, looked like he had some hair beneath the hoodie. Wasn't a low cut. And we all know Hakeem Robinson did not have a low cut back in January 2020 because we have video. We have photographs showing exactly what his hairstyle was like in the days leading up to this. And she said, I can't put a number on it. She didn't say the shooter was tall. She didn't give a number. But what she could do, what she did do is say, Charles McCormick, the person she knew, the person she just talked to, the person she just walk out the door, the shooter was bigger than him. He was taller than him. Not as thin. And how tall is Charles McCormick? According to the medical examiner, 5'10". Objection, this character is
Nigga swear Scotty was too hotty.
Overruled.
5'10". And the shooter was bigger than him.
Damn. Oh yeah, this over with. It's over with. They eject on a closing argument. You don't supposed to do that.
And she got a clear front row seat to that event as that shooter, Hakeem Robinson, chased Charles McCormick down right in front of her. Close as this. It's not strangers. It's not 30, 40, 50 yards or more away. It's right there. And someone she knows. Shooter, tall, bigger. What did Victor Kruger say? He doesn't know anybody. He just happened to be checking out his mail. He's sitting in that truck. You run past him. Again, this all does happen very quickly. What does he say? Shooter to me looked like, I don't know, just under 6 feet, maybe 5'10", 5'11". 5'11" or 6 feet. An inch. An inch. You know how tall Hakeem Robinson is, 6 feet. Just a tad over, barefoot, according to laser scans. Victor Kruger could be 5'11". Pretty close. Again, keep in mind, shooter doesn't stop, say, measure me. He's running and gunning. And this happens very fast. But the two closest witnesses, the two clearest fields of vision, both say very consistent descriptions. Bigger than Charles, 5'10" according to the medical examiner, and Victor Kruger, 5'10", 5'11", maybe just under 6 feet. Very, very consistent.
That's what they put on.
Parking lot, 187. This is a still shot. You have the video. You'll be able to look at it. You see all the witnesses? You have to squint. How far away are you? You know how tall they are? Keep in mind it's a video, but do you have any idea how tall those people are? You can tell what they're wearing. And then this happens in 10 seconds or less. There's more gunshots than there are seconds that it takes for this crime to be completed. And you hear from a few witnesses who are way down there by Bailey's. Mr. Williams. Well, the guy looked like maybe he was crouching. You know what happens when you crouch? You get a little small. Maybe 5'8". But then what did he say? Although sometimes I see people and I think they're smaller than me, I walk up and what do you know? They're taller than me. Jarvis Roberts says he's at least 25, 30 yards away. Saw it for about 2 seconds. That was his testimony, 2 seconds, because he hits the ground. He's way over there. Maybe 5'8", 5'9", somewhere in there. 2 seconds of an individual running and gunning, not standing straight, not standing up, and you're 30 yards away, which automatically means the odds you're small. Common sense. further you get away from something, the smaller it looks. Anybody ever had an eye test? A little tree in front of you, where they blow the puff of air, it starts getting further and further away. Team Robinson on January 2020. There were some questions. You don't have photographs of him when he was arrested to see what he looked like. Well, when he got arrested in September 2020, what he looked like really doesn't matter. You know what matters? What he looked like on January 15th of 2020, when this murder took place.
Let's get it.
Defense 3, January 14th, 2020, the day before their plan was fulfilled. Willie's Day. This is a preview of Hakeem Robinson, what he looked like. You look fat? You see the hair? See the legs? Still Defense 3, same day. Keep in mind, the individual in red, the sergeant that testified, said he was what, 6 foot, 300 pounds at the time? Himself, not Hakeem Robinson. And there's Hakeem Robinson. States 230, January 5th, 2020. Two individuals, I think everyone will recognize. Leroy Whitaker, and that's Hakeem Robinson. And the over. Leroy Whitaker's 5'6" on the laser scan. Clearly shorter than Hakeem Robinson. And then you put them side by side, and Hakeem Robinson starts bending over. Still, January 5th, 2020. There they are together. Hakeem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker, cousins, blood. Approaching Willie's Day. And look at the hoodie on Hakeem Robinson. Does that shape on that head look somewhat familiar? Anything any of you have seen in this case? About now, states 1.
Hey, nah, defense. Hey, the state, the state played it smart. They waited till the closing argument where you can't, your opening and closing argument, you can't object to nothing. So they waited till the end to really put out everything. Like, that's crazy.
87 and 230. Hakeem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker, left and right. And in the middle, the shooter.
That nigga jumped a picture of bro around that time with a hoodie on his head. That's crazy.
Wearing a gray and black hoodie. Gray and black hoodie you have all seen and will see again. Worn by Hakeem Robinson. Pretty good shot at the firearm, too. We'll come back to that. States 248. Hakeem Robinson's height, measured by lasers. 6.0302 feet barefoot. And if you recall, there were some questions of the expert about the defense counsel across about, did you tell him he was going to get measured for his height? Did you tell him to stand perfectly straight and put his feet together? Keep in mind, those are two things that the shooter never did for any of the witnesses that the defense would like you to believe their estimation of. But it's simply spreading your right and left foot apart is going to affect one's height in any observable way. How in the world is running going to affect it? It's going to make you look smaller, right? And to the right, you see Leroy Whitaker and Dominic Varner, 5.6233 feet, 5.5873 feet, very close to one another. States 248.
Yeah. You too. All right, thank you. And the baby sleep.
Still shot from the dash cam. Charles McCormick and the shooter, side by side. Does the shooter look a little bigger, like Ms. Saunders said? about height. You can ignore the head.
Damn, Ksoo. You may got tricked into it.
Look at the shoulders. Equal distance from the camera, almost the same body position. 5'10" Charles McCormick, Keem Robinson. Still states 248. You saw and heard from the expert who did the laser scans and then the 3D kinematic model. Shooter on the left, Keem Robinson's body scanned model, right? This shows shooter, Keem Robinson, the shooter's kinematic model, and then the 3D laser scan of Keem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker, and Dominic Varner. Dominic Varner, Leroy Whitaker, 5.7 feet, excluded. Doesn't match up. Keem Robinson, not excluded. Stage 243. This is on November 25th, 2019. Gray and black hoodie. Keep in mind, it's not that Nikes aren't owned by other people. And if all the state had was this photograph, this video of Keem Robinson in a similar black and gray hoodie, it wouldn't be so black and white. But it's not. It's just one piece of the evidence. And you have to look at all of the pieces in totality. And they all point to Keem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker. Page 197.
It's Ksoo.
He love that name. It's Ksoo, bitch. He said it's Casablanca, bitch.
He's moving around.
Nigga said it's Casablanca, bitch.
Back to the firearm for a sec. Stage 243. This is the Bang It Out music video that was filmed on December 11th, 2019. A month before the murder of Charles McCormick. And look at the firearm in Keem Robinson's hands. His right hand. Fairly distinctive looking, I would suggest.
Huh?
And look at the map, the data where this video was filmed. You see it close to Mosh. Where did Abdul Robinson Sr. say? He said, I was there when that was filmed. Over there by the chart house. Right over there in that same area. He knew where it was filmed. It's filmed on December 11th, 2019. Going back to the expert's testimony when he did that comparative analysis between the firearm in that music video, as well as a known firearm he went out and procured for his testing, which is in the center. And then looking at the images from the dash cam. The points of comparison. Does it look similar? Even if you ignore the expert's testimony and you just look at these images, what does common sense tell you? What do you see with your own eyes? The Nissan Altima. This is one of the most important pieces of this case because it was stolen, not owned by Keem Robinson or Leroy Whitaker or Dominic Varner. So a car it should not have been in, and there evidence of them should not be. And you know beyond any doubt that that Nissan Altima was the car used to commit this crime and flee from it. You know beyond any doubt that it was occupied by those involved in this crime. Stage 77 and stage 187. On the left, that crashed Nissan Altima. flash of Officer Collins. And on the right, a still shot from the dash cam showing the car that was used, occupied by those who are responsible. Same car. Page 187, this is just a few seconds.
That's the car right there, right there.
Victor Kruger. He saw the car, saw the shooter get back into it, and as you hear, that's the car right there. So there's no doubt that Nissan Altima was the one that was transporting the guilty from that scene. Let's talk about Officer Collins for a second. He followed that vehicle, not knowing Charles McCormick had been shot and killed, knowing shots had been fired. So he pursued it, turned his lights and sirens on, telling that vehicle, the occupants, to pull over, to stop, and they refused.
Del Taco's new slow-cooked pork carnitas. Authentic spices and salsa roja give it a rich, deep, melt-in-your-mouth flavor. Pork carnitas are here for a limited time, so get some tender, juicy Del Taco today.
Garner, who admittedly was in that car driving, and admitted to driving recklessly, reaching very high speeds, going through a residential neighborhood as he was trying to get away. Get away himself, but also those who were with him, his friends. Hakeem Robinson, Leroy Whitaker. And Officer Collins, because part of the testimony and the cross-examination has to do with the description he gave. That he advised on the day of this incident that the shooter that he saw get out of that Nissan Altima and run west. 5'5", 5'8", 5'9", somewhere in that range. But where was he when he saw that individual? And on the map, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 little addresses. Number 1, 1233 Townsend. That's where the Nissan Altima crashed. Officer Collins testified he was further up the map. 1 Townsend, just past Alderman, that intersects with Townsend. And when he saw the person running, he was about half a football field away, about 50 yards. And he saw him for about 2 seconds as they darted across the street. And I think we've already covered, but what happens when you're at distance? What happens when someone is running? They appear small. And then factor in, it's a 2-second glimpse. States 80, that Nissan Altima looking back towards the direction that Officer Collins was coming. Based on the map that you were just shown as in evidence, and this perspective, can you even see where his car would have been in this photo? Because he was further back. And just use this visual as context. You can see a car, that's a patrol car at the top of the screen. Doesn't look that big. That's that. Houses. Imagine being further back and looking at an individual fleeing from the Nissan Altima and seeing it for 2 seconds. States 190. Still shots from the Bellevue video that you saw, that's in evidence. You can look at it again, and when you look at it, and you can take note of these times if you want. At 11:23, the shooter runs between the houses and passes that car. Camera doesn't move, car doesn't move, just the shooter. And then look at the image on the right. 11:06:05. Almost 3 minutes later, that's Officer Collins. He wasn't right up on them. And you saw Officer Collins. 6'4", he testified. So look at the 2 images, and on the right, Officer Collins, as he goes past that same vehicle. How do their sizes compare from this image? Is the shooter consistent with someone who's 5'5"? Or is it more consistent with someone that's approaching Officer Collins' height? Someone closer to 6 feet. Maybe 6'1" with shoes. Going back to that Nissan Altima, States 87. It's not just the car, but it's what was found in it. DNA fingerprints. On the Glock, at the top of the slide, not on the handle, not even on the front of the slide, on the rear of the slide, fingerprints belonging to Hakeem Robinson. His prints on that gun in that car. Now, the analyst can't say at what point in time that fingerprint got put on the gun. Dominic Carter can. The expert couldn't. But common sense tells you, based on even the line of questioning, fingerprints can get wiped off. They can get wiped away. You're going to find a fingerprint on the slide of a Glock left behind in a car that the suspect's just fled out of. But that print, maybe that's been on that gun should have been passed around. And yet you get a print on the top slide, clear enough to identify, and it belongs to Hakeem Robinson, who, coincidentally enough, DNA is found on that rolled up white t-shirt next to it. Greater than 700 billion. The analyst says we stop at 700 billion because we can't comprehend numbers bigger than that. Can you imagine if you were told you had greater than a 700 billion chance to win the lotto? It was over 700 billion times more likely that you were going to win when you purchased that ticket than lose? Would you have an abiding conviction to go out and buy that ticket? Would you think you could lose? Well, I suggest to you that this piece of evidence is a loss for Hakeem Robinson, because it's over 700 billion times more likely that that's his DNA on that shirt, next to his prints on that gun, and this stolen Nissan Altima that was just used to flee the scene of the murder. States 88, that same shirt, rolled up, balled up, and it's a size large. States 89. You have the shirts, you can look at them. The one in the back's a medium, where Leroy Whitaker was, a little bit smaller. Also, states 92, you see a rifle in the floorboard, and then that white shirt, that medium-sized shirt, with Leroy Whitaker's DNA. Again, greater than 700 billion. I want to talk for a moment about the firearms. All right, you got the Glock. You already saw where the fingerprint was on it. And that gun, Dominic Varner says is his. The serves him no purpose in the world to admit that gun is his. He's just feeding the story. Why say that's his gun? How does that help? Does it serve any purpose? No. But yet he's admitting that not only was he involved, but yeah, that was my gun. If he's just telling a story based on what he knows in discovery, he knows Hakeem Robinson's prints on it, why not say that was Hakeem Robinson's gun? He's got the prints on it. But he doesn't. He says, that was my gun.
Hey, it's me, Bunny. You remember me, right? My legs carried this game, you mother...
He admits it. And again, you don't have to like Dominic Varner. I'm not saying he's a good person. He's a criminal. He's just their kind of friend. And if you're going to plan a murder, who do you take with you? Is it not a Dominic Varner? You want someone you can count on. Their friend. Someone who shares the same goal. States 92, again, is that rifle. What I really want to point out, states 103, because Dominic Varner says that rifle is Leroy Whitaker's. And it's in the back seat next to the item with Leroy Whitaker's DNA. And he didn't pull the trigger, Leroy Whitaker, but he is a principal. He knew what was going to happen, and he wanted it to happen. And this rifle tells you that without speaking a word. Look at it. It's an assault rifle. Okay? It's set to fire. That tab, set to fire, tells you everything about the intent for that weapon is to be used. Not only is it set to fire, there is a live .223 caliber round chamber. One small muscle contraction of the finger away from discharging. States 104, that live round. Leroy Whitaker's live round. Leroy Whitaker's intent in this case. If that one wasn't enough, 107, 26 total rounds. 26 individual statements of intent. Leroy Whitaker didn't have to say a word in that Nissan Altima. He joking. You show off with a loaded AR-15 and chamber a round, set it to fire. You don't have to vocalize anything. Your actions have made it more than clear you're in agreement with what's about to happen. And if he didn't know what was about to happen, why is he bringing a rifle? Because they were on a hunt.
It's crazy because the thought of it make it hurt, but when they actually do it and they done, you be like, oh, shit wasn't even that bad.
So you bring the tools of the trade. 1214 Timber Lane, states 189. Leroy Whitaker,
They be quick as hell.
Dominic Varner. Right after, they have fled the murder. Keem Robinson's gone west, they go east. And they leave their guns behind. Leroy Whitaker, not just a spectator, he's an active participant. He wasn't. He was roped into all this, had no idea what was going to take place, no idea what was about to happen, didn't want it to happen.
Hell nah, you don't supposed to. That nigga said, can I smoke though? My nigga said, because they finished fast, can I smoke though? It take them like 10 minutes to do a root canal on my ass. Hell nah, you don't supposed to. I mean, people do, but you don't supposed to though.
Stayed in the car. He could have got out, laid down in the front yard, put his face down, spread his hands, because officers were coming, and said,
When I get my teeth fixed or whatever, I usually smoke through my nose. I can't go without smoking, shawty. I can't. I be hitting that bitch through my nose. I swear to God.
Officer. But he didn't. Consciousness of guilt. They're getting out of there. Left the guns behind, left the DNA behind, left the fingerprints behind, and then Dominique Varner and Leroy Whitaker are not leaving anything else behind. They're getting out of there. And from that moment, where do they go? 1033 Townsend Boulevard, where Dominique Varner and Leroy Whitaker both collectively committed burglary with assault or battery. To commit a burglary, to prove that, the state has to prove, in this case, because again, Varner already pled to it, admitted to it, to what he did, but Leroy Whitaker did the exact same thing. We have to prove Leroy Whitaker entered a dwelling, Buckley's home, and at the time of entering it, he had the intent to commit an offense therein, other than burglary or trespass. It's not like Leroy Whitaker was homeless, and it was 30 degrees outside, and he needed a warm place to sleep, and he thought this was an abandoned home, nobody's home, and I'm going to sneak in, commit trespass so I can sleep, protect myself from the elements. That is not what happened. He was protecting himself, but not from 30-degree weather.
Why the fuck is it so hot? Like, what the fuck going on? It's hot as a bitch. I know I ain't tripping. Like, what the fuck?
Weather or rain, he was protecting himself from the police. The police, who were on his trail, were trying to find him, trying to find Keem Robinson. And so, just like Dominique Varner, who behind the wheel was fleeing at a high rate of speed to escape, this is just a continuation of that, on foot. And so, with the intent to thwart the police, to escape the police, to resist the police, to ignore their orders, to stop, Leroy Whitaker and Dominique Varner both entered the home of Barbara Buckley without permission and with the intent to hide from the police, and that is a burglary, plain and simple. But they went a step further, because there's an assault or battery. You also have to hear from the judge that you can infer that there was an intent to commit a crime inside that dwelling if it was done stealthily and without the consent of the owner. What did Barbara Buckley tell you? She didn't invite him in. She didn't even know they had entered. That's stealthily. She thought her cat shut the door to the bedroom. States 114, the enclosed patio that Dominique Varner and Leroy Whitaker entered as the police were closing in. And then states 115, the back sliding glass door to the home. And then once inside, states 125, that bedroom to the front of the house, door open, and when that door got opened by Miss Buckley, looking back at her from states 126 in that closet, Dominique Varner and Leroy Whitaker. Two people she didn't know, had never met, had never been in contact with. And then the assault and battery by both Dominique Varner and Leroy Whitaker. Both, not just one, both. So if you find Leroy Whitaker guilty of burglary, you have to determine, was an assault or a battery committed? An assault is simply an intentional and unlawful threat by word or act to do violence, when they have the apparent ability to carry out that threat. So, for example, when Miss Buckley is thrown down on the ground and she's cowering on the floor, and Leroy Whitaker asks Dominique Varner, "You want me to hurt her?" That's an assault. And that comes after the battery. The battery is just an actual and intentional touching or striking another person against their will. Did that happen to Miss Buckley? States 133. He was 57 years old at the time. Home alone, her husband was at work. She hadn't left for her shift yet. States 121. Front door to her home that she opened, telling Leroy Whitaker, Dominic Varner, get out of my house, opens the door, begins to yell for help. They're not going anywhere. The police are outside. They can't go outside. They have to hide. Consciousness of guilt and proof of the burglary. And States 110. The closed front door, and you can see the brick wall next to it, the little planter box, and there's a metal railing just inside. The metal railing that Miss Buckley told you, she reached out with her hand and grabbed. It's not a death grip. So much so that even though she's 57 and they're much younger, when Dominic Varner grabbed her to try and get her back inside, couldn't quite get her. So who came to the rescue? Who assisted? Leroy Whitaker. He came and helped break Barbara Buckley free from that rail, pull her back in her home, where they threw her to the ground, and Dominic Varner, admittedly, put his hands around her neck and began to choke her as Leroy Whitaker asked if he should hurt her. And then she complied. That is a battery during the commission of the burglary, and that proves that Leroy Whitaker, just like Dominic Varner, no different than Dominic Varner, is guilty of burglary and assault or battery. DNA again. States 135. Slight abrasion to Miss Buckley's neck. Wrist, States 130. DNA from those locations matching Dominic Varner. Again, he admits it. No mystery. States 143. And States 189. What States 189? Notice it. He flips his leg on that chain link fence. It catches. And he falls to the ground. And then what do they find on Miss Buckley's clothing? Her pants. Blood. DNA. Food. Leroy Whitaker. Greater than 700 billion. His blood, after he jumps the fence and catches his leg, on her pants, in her home. She's never met him before that day. Doesn't know him, didn't invite him in. They shouldn't be there. That proves beyond not just a reasonable doubt, but all doubt, that Leroy Whitaker, along with Dominic Varner, are both guilty of this crime.
With Amazon's low back-to-school prices, you can spend less on school supplies, backpacks, and lunch.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of the evidence. And we'll start with Leroy Whitaker's phone number, 803-3671. I don't have all these records back there. There's a lot to go through if you choose, but States 227. Leroy Whitaker's Instagram account, you can see the account name highlighted in yellow at the top, Ksoo Scotty. You see a phone number, 904-803-3671, to verify. Leroy Whitaker. And you can see at the bottom right-hand corner of the photo, at Aki, and then it kind of cuts off, Ksoo Scotty. Page 437 and 1057.